Autobots, transform!
What is up, Transformers family? Welcome back to another episode of George Reviews. I am the 80s Transformers fan, and today on George Reviews, we'll be taking a look at Decepticon Air Commander Starscream from Hasbro's 1984 wave of Transformers. And from the catalog, I have been counting down these figures, and Starscream lands at number 22 as per his listing in the catalog. There he is right there. I'm going to get him checked off so we can move on with this review. He is the 6th Decepticon on my countdown and the 2nd Seeker Jet. Let's take a look at Starscream Air Commander. This is the packaging we got from Hasbro. This is his vintage original packaging. That is his vintage original bubble. This figure is not sealed. He's going to come out of this box. Here's the artwork for Starscream. He has this bewildered look on his face, or a look of shock. Yellow eyes. Artwork's pretty cool. That fist is drawn awesomely. He looks pretty good. Top of the box, the transformation steps. It only shows 5 steps. Bottom of the box, the product shot down here. Transformers Decepticon more than meets the eye. I love these boxes as a kid. Side panel, more artwork. The price tag is gone off. The iconic artwork from the back of the original 1984 wave. Starscream's tech spec and bio. Robot points have been cut. And proof of purchase right there. Side of the box, same thing. Now, before I get into this, I want to tell you, and if you don't already know, it sounds like a broken record if you do know, the Starscream and the Transformers came from a pre-existing company and toy line called Diaclone. He was part of the Jet robot line, and he had a pre-existing figure. It's mostly the same Starscream, except for on the wings, it said Diaclone on the wings, and he came with a little die-cast pilot that went inside, because the Transformers in that line, these toys were not sentient beings. They had people would jump inside like the Power Rangers and pilot, or Voltron pilot the vehicle. But anyway, Hasbro got the licensing, built the mythos and story around it, gave us a cartoon to drive the product, and we got this right in front of us. So I am going to unbox Starscream. This side, slide them open. And this is what you saw in 1984. This is the original bubble. I have inside the box his original unused sticker sheet and booklet and instructions. I have never opened it. The guy bought it from over 20 years ago. It's sealed. He said he never played with it. He took it out of the box a few times to display it. So we won't get inside his instruction booklet, but I have the catalog. But anyway, this is the seal sticker sheet. And we can see the back of the instructions and the decoder right there. Apologize for that right now, but I want to preserve it. I got a ton of Starscreams that will make an appearance in this video. And here is Starscream with the bubble partially attached. I lean to the side and get it out. And actually, by sitting in this bubble, he has suffered some yellowing. And just looking at it straight on, you probably can't tell, but when I bring out one of the reissues, you can really see it. So here is Starscream. He has his landing gear attached already. And we're going to get out his accessories. I got to be careful because they're in this bubble part, and I don't want to rip it completely off. A lot of accessories. Come on, Screamer. I guess the first thing we need to do is assemble Starscream, but before I assemble him, we're going to look under this wing and take a look at the production stamping. If I can get the glare off of it, is some Japanese writing right here. I think it's Japanese and maybe Chinese. I'm not versed in those languages. Then it says Takarako Ltd. 1980-1983 Japan right here. It doesn't have Hasbro anywhere on it, as this is a pre-rub. All my Decepticon jets are pre-rub. He's in pretty good condition. He has a few dings and nicks here and there. Well, let's get this guy fully assembled. Attach one of his rear tail fins. I believe it's his left, my left too. Right side slots into the holes. Then you take the rudder, and it goes in this little hole right here. And same thing on the other side. And underneath, we take his launchers and plug them into these holes. And these are 5mm holes. They still use the same holes on Transformers to this day. I'm not going to attach the machine guns. These are the machine guns. They're still attached to the original tree or sprue, whatever you choose to call it in your collecting lingo. Put that to the side. I'm going to take his long missile. This is Starscream long missiles or null rays. I finally get to say null rays and be correct, because I call every one of the jets that has these null rays because I don't know of another name for them. So I'm going to add Starscream's null rays, and no one can correct me this time. To his launcher, and here he is. He is based on a real life jet, a Douglas F-15C Eagle, and he looks pretty darn good. Have a little bit of sticker wear right there, but I've had a long time in and out of the box and packaging. Overall, he is in excellent condition. Rotate him around. You can see the underbody. He makes an excellent F-15 jet. Looks great. You can see the jet engines back here, the molding, except there's no gap here on the real jet. Underneath, he has the bombs or rockets, whatever you want to call them. This entire portion right here is all die cast. You can see his face hanging out. No sticker attached to his eyes. And yeah, this is a minty pre-rub first production run Starscream. And I know it's first production run because even some of the other pre-rub Starscreams have this part hollowed out right here. I'll show you on the reissue later in the review. And it is not hollowed out, but here he is. He looks amazing. He was the #2 bad guy in the cartoon series. And in my opinion, he was #3 after Shockwave. But Shockwave wasn't on Earth with these guys. And yeah, here he is. The nose cone is a rubber, bendable rubber for safety reasons, so you don't hurt yourself or kids hurt themselves when they were younger. And in this mode, his articulation is as follows. You can turn the landing gear. Yeah, we're counting that. You can rotate the wings because they come off. They just plug in full 360. You can rotate these if you want to get some different positioning. All right, while I was talking about features and what this thing can do with the wings and all that, I forgot the biggest feature is that the missiles fire. Just hit this little lever and they fire strong. Just fell off. And because this thing is totally unplayed with, his springs are still strong. Fire this one. And man, that hit hard. We just destroying Autobot headquarters. Oh wait, the cockpit canopy can open. And if you have one of those Diaclone pilots, you can put them right in the cockpit and flash back to his Diaclone days. Fits right in there. All right, before I move on any further, let's take a look at Starscream's box and tech spec and take a look at what Hasbro intended us for fantasy and play with this figure. I drop down right here. It says Decepticon Starscream. Function: Air Commander. Conquest is made on the ashes of one's enemies. Seeks to replace Megatron as leader. Ruthless, cold-blooded, cruel. Considers himself the most sophisticated and handsome of Decepticons. Believes Decepticons should rely more on guile and speed rather than brute force to defeat the Autobots. Which fastest flyer of the group, can reach Mach 2.8 at an altitude of 52 miles, shoots cluster bombs and null rays, which disrupts flow of electricity. Very good at what he does, but sometimes overrates himself. Okay, I'm going to jump over to his tech spec, his technical readout, but I do want to make some corrections after I read it, because if you saw my Skyrope review, I mentioned that all the Jets tech specs were swapped around. It says his strength is a 7. His intelligence is a 7. His speed is a 9. His endurance is a 7. His rank is a 5. His courage is a 8. His firepower is a 7. And his skill is a 7. Now, I mentioned that they were all swapped around because it says he's the air commander, and obviously he outranks the other jets. But if you take a look at the other jets tech spec, Skywarp has the highest rank, which is wrong. So everyone in the Transformers community, most of us agree that Skywarp's technical readout is Starscreams, and I'll read that to you. Skywarp's strength is a 7. His intelligence is a 9. His speed is a 10. His endurance is a 7. His rank is a 9. His courage is a 9. His firepower is an 8. And his skill is an 8. So Starscream bios tells us that he's the commander. So it makes more sense for his rank to be at a 9. That's second only to Megatron. Then it also tells us he's the fastest flyer of the group. His speed is at a 10 for Skywarp. So again, that tells us that that is Starscream's technical spec. His courage is higher and his firepower is higher. So, and he's the fastest of the group. So that just tells us that all Skywarp numbers belong on Starscream. So moving on from that. All right, everybody, I have a confession to make. When I was a kid, I did not have the official G1 Starscream. So whenever you hear me tell my childhood story about Starscream, it was about this figure. So let me get my Transformer story out of the way and show you this. This is a Kingdom 6 F-15 jet. And basically this is a knockoff of the Diaclone jet. Instead of having Diaclone on the wings, right here it says Kingdom 6, and Kingdom with a D-A-M. And it has the 15 like the Diaclones, and the rear rudders right here, instead of being blue, they are clearly silver or gray, the same color as this knockoff of the Diaclone. I don't even think we call it Starscream. But I had this as a kid. I had it brand new out of the box. I remember it clearly. The neighborhood hustle guy that was always selling something, TVs, lawnmowers. He had a bunch of toys during the holiday season in 1984. And because I could never find Starscream in the store, I asked my mother to buy it from him just to give it a shot. He had a few other Transformer-ish toys, but this was the one that looked more closely to what I thought Starscream would look like. I hadn't had any of the Secret Jets at that point. And yeah, I was happy to get it. It came with like a fake Diaclone pilot. Like, this is one of the Diaclone authentic pilots, but the fake one that he came with, I don't have one for this guy. That's why I'm showing you this. It didn't have the magnets on the feet. It just omitted that. Like, we're not spending money on that. And the die cast wasn't as pronounced, wasn't molded as well. If I got a picture, I'll try to throw one in. I don't know if I can dig one up. But it was a little orange pilot that came with this guy. And instead of using the orange pilot as Spike or something like that, I just flicked it to the side. And then later on was like, well, how come they never made Spike? But yeah, this is what I had as a kid. Not this particular one. I purchased this as an adult to kind of get that feel back from my childhood. But it was a very cool toy. It's a solid toy. It served me all the way to adulthood. I actually held on to the original one till I became an adult and wound up using it as trade money towards the very first 2000 reissue Starscream from Takar. And he has no stickers applied to it. You can see it's like a cheaper plastic. Well, maybe you can't because I don't have them side by side. It's not just the choice of the color of the gray. It's just not as good. And then it looks all waxy right here. Kind of looks like glue buildup, but that is not. That's how it looks. The cockpit is orange, like the cartoon, which I also love. And when you open it up, it has a sticker in there like for a little seat. And I think that's from the Diaclone. Never had Diaclone one either. But I believe that is a reproduction of the Diaclone as well. The wings are sharper on the corner. And Hasbro rounded them off. Like that sharpness comes from the Diaclone. Like you see it, like it's a lot sharper right there. The nose cone is hard plastic. And it retained the same type of landing gear on the front and the back, which is cool. And the gap back here is much wider. And you can really see it in robot mode, so I'm going to get to that. I have the machine guns for this version, so I can show you that. And his flying combat mode. But other than that, it's pretty much the same figure until we get the robot mode. Right now I'm going to get Starscream transforms. I'm going to remove the null rays. I can say null rays now. I'm going to remove the landing gear because they must come off. Yes, that is parts forming. It was G1, not just G1, pre-G1. Stand them up. Rotate the wings towards the back. Push his arms through the abdomen, around to the side. Take the nose cone, divide it, and push it through. And lift the head up. We have the head. Rotate the wing around to the back. Same thing on this side. All right, now we have to add his fist. The cockpit is sagging on this for whatever reason. I don't think I've ever transformed this guy. I may have when I first got it, but this is sagging. I'm gonna have to do something about that just to review it. Add his null rays. All right, we got Starscream fully transformed. I did a little trick to make the cockpit stay. It was still flopping around a little bit on me for whatever reason. But here he is, the completed robot mode from front to back. And let's take a look at Starscream's face. Get a close-up on that. And the funny thing is, I talked about it in Skywarp's review, like this is his head. And later on, animators or whatever made the side vents part of his head. It looks better on Skywarp because it's all black. Well, it looks more convincing on Skywarp, but this has the gray. But they actually drew these vents in as part of his head on the cartoon. But as a kid, I was like, why is the head so tiny? Especially in comparison to his fist. It's like, wow. I don't have the stickers on mine. He's supposed to have stickers on his eyes. I'll bring out another version so you can check that out a little bit later in the review. But he has molded in eyes that sort of look like shades. Molded in mouth and nose. Some vents on his forehead. It looks pretty cool. And they actually drew a lot of that in on the cartoon. Alright, with that out of the way, let's take a look at his articulation, which is next to nothing. G1, A1 says break. Breaks don't transform. But anyway, you can take his arm and do a full 360, and we are done with his articulation. You can move the null rays around because they just peg in, of course. And the biggest feature, and pretty much the only feature in this mode, is missiles fire. Die, Autobot scum! Back then, the whole gimmick and the whole play thing was the fact that they transformed. Looked like a cool robot. Had die-cast, in some cases rubber, and launching missiles. Most of these guys, pretty much all these guys, had launching missiles, the larger scale guys, or rockets. And take a look. And like I said earlier, the entire red portion is die-cast. Has these little vents down here, which they actually purposed on the box, like when he fly jets came out of those. Right here on the back of the box, you can see like a blast coming out of there to keep them in the air, sort of like Tony Stark. But very, very cool figure. Now, let's bring out my childhood version of Starscream. First thing you'll notice is this thing comes with black fists, because he came with black fists. And then, like, the QC, you see the cracks in the feet and just the legs separating in the chunked plastic. Again, it looks like it's been glued, but it is not. That is the actual plastic. And then the feet are spread out. And the official version is a lot better. I'm pretty sure the Diaclone was a lot better. The die cast is a different red. I have no stickers on this guy either. And the head won't come all the way up like Starscream's. Like this one is kind of back. This one comes all the way up because the little clearance for the neck in here is just not enough. The little piece that comes up won't allow it to come up all the way. But this thing, it served me well. Well, version of this served me well as a kid. Like I had it until I was a grown man in my mid-20s when I traded it off. So, two figures side by side. And the missiles, the launchers are pretty much identical. They were like putting kids' eyes out left and right over there. Bam. Ooh, look at my aim. 2 direct hits center mass on Starscream. Alright, so while I got the Starscream parade going, I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to bring out the Walmart reissue because his colors are so similar. And you get to see this guy with stickers on them. This is where the stickers would go in the vents. The sides of his abdomen right here, the kneecaps and the feet. And Decepticon symbol on the wings, of course. Nothing around the back. The first run of Starscream has what they call a single tab fist, where one side is solid and then the back or one side has a tab in it. And the Diaclone version copied the same thing. It's a single tab fist. And like the 1985 and later versions of Starscream had the double tab fist. And this is a double, this of course this is a reissue fist, but this is what double tab is. Basically the tab is on both sides. There is a version, an early version of Starscream that has black missile releases right here. Instead of the blue, for whatever reason, they are black. And a lot of people think they're KOs. Hopefully I can put a pic in there. I used to have them. I might be able to pull out the real thing, but the little launcher piece right here, instead of being blue, is black. And it's made actually different. It actually looks like a fake one. I don't know the story behind that, but there is another variant version of him in the G1 toy line. He didn't have really many variants other than the use of different color plastics, like how the Walmart gray is slightly different and the KO gray is slightly different. It's just the material they use, not a true complete different. Like the IGA Starscream is like more silver, and the Diaclone Starscream, the actual Diaclone, is a little bit more silver as opposed to gray. Here's my display piece because I'm parading Starscreams around. This is the anime accurate color one, cartoon color. It had the orange cockpit with the stripes on it to better define the passenger and the pilot compartments on it. Light blue, of course, and it held the Megatron gun. It was the first one to have the Megatron gun. This is the book style. It came in a white box from Takara. And I display this one. And then most of the time, I'm not that big on anime accurate, but this is my display piece. I guess this is the one I don't mind getting dusty and dirty. Not to take away from the fact that I really like it. I really do, but it's just my display piece. I guess because he has the Megatron gun. I think that's really cool. And this would be my display piece, but these missiles, man, it was cool to collect this. And I got a good price at retail for it, but them missiles are goofy as hell. But they had to do it because they fire. I guess they really wanted to keep the fire mechanism in there. If they hadn't did it, we wouldn't be able to get them to fire. And there you go. All right, now to give Starscream his size up and rundown, and I'm going to start with his brethren Screams. Here is Starscream with the original team of Secret Jets. Here is Starscream with the second wave of Secret Jets, the Coneheads. Here he is with Decepticon leader Megatron. Here he is with Shockwave and Bruticus. Here is Starscream with Sunstorm and Burnback. Here he is with Acid Storm and Thunderstorm. And at this point, you probably realize I'm just showing off Secret Jets. Here he is with Earthrise Starscream. And here he is with Siege Starscream.
You guys look great, but not as good as me, bitches.
And last but not least, here he is with friend and rival Jetfire / Skyfire. In my Skywarp review, I didn't get into his reissues because he only has a couple pretty standard ones. But with Starscream, he has like 3 I think is worth noting. But before he was reissued, he was re-released in the G1 line in the Goodbye Megatron gift set, where he came with Megatron, and it was to commemorate them basically killing off Megatron in the movie, and I guess Starscream too. I think it's super rare. It was a Japanese exclusive with Japanese packaging. He was reissued in 2001 in all the exact same colors, pretty much the same figure. Then he had an encore reissue that was the exact same mold, but in between there he got the Ghost of Starscream, which was an incredible reissue that I happen to have. I couldn't find it. I meant to pull it out. I have a review up for it. Then with that Ghost reissue, he came with a companion piece, which was like the charred version, like right before he fell to ash when Galvatron shot him. And both of those things are very unique and very rare. Then he has the book style reissue that I brought out where he has the anime colors. Then he has a super rare version of the Ghost. And I think it's one of the most limited releases. I think it's like number 1 or 2 limited releases of any Generation 1 Transformer ever. It's like mostly clear, and it was limited to 5 pieces. And if you got that one, you got one hell of a toy. In the United States, he has 2 reissues. He has the Toys R Us reissue with the terrible giant missiles. Then he has the Walmart reissue with the terrible giant missiles. And they added the Megatron gun, which came from the anime version. So I think we pretty much caught up. And he has the IGA release, which is like a lot more silver to him. And that was an official G1 license release to IGA. And you know that one looks a little bit different. If you see it, you can notice the silver over the gray. And if you didn't know, now you know. All right, to wind this review down, I'm going to tell you that Starscream is probably my second favorite Decepticon character. Period. Probably my third or fourth favorite toy. As far as looks, he's the second. I mean, it's the same toy as Thundercracker, Skywarp, but I like Skywarp's colors better, but I love Starscream over Skywarp any day. He was voiced in the G1 cartoon by Chris Collins. He also went by Chris Latta. He did voice acting on the real Ghostbusters, but most of us know him from Cobra Commander first, then Starscream, then Decompose on the Humanoids. Then he was like Spasma and Krunk. I am Spasma and I am Krunk. Transformers Headmasters. He did Gung Ho. He did Sparkplug. I can't remember all the people I named, but he did a ton of voice acting, and you knew that voice when you heard it. It was like, this is Cobra Commander, Starscream.
Much easier, almighty Megatron, than attacking the real threat, the Autobots' moon base.
You're a douchebag, Starscream.
Wait, what?
But amazed. I was in love with his character. No matter what Transformers series or property he was in, you just had to love Starscream for his treachery. Sometimes they try to paint him as a coward, but according to his bio, he was not a coward, and he jumped into battle. And you can't be a coward trying to take Megatron's top spot. Like, man, the Decepticons was like, he's unbeatable, he's merciless, and you'll never be our leader. So Starscream, he was hardcore no matter how you look at it, how you slice it. And my favorite Starscream cartoon moment, and it's not when he kicked Megatron and when he threw Megatron out of the shuttle. My favorite Starscream moment is when he was a ghost and he told Unicron, "You have to give me a body." And Unicron, "You shall have it." And then he was like, Unicron was like, "No, make the connection." And he was like, "Ha ha, do it yourself," and threw the cables down. Everybody feared Unicron, except for maybe Hot Rod. But everybody, when you said Unicron around anybody, he had Megatron shook, he had Galvatron shook, same guy. But everybody, when they said Unicron and Sweeps, was like, "We better get out of here." He had everybody shook, but Unicron, to his face, after he gave Starscream his life back, Starscream threw the cable down. It was like, and that is my favorite Starscream moment. What is yours? He had a lot. So what's yours? Please tell me in the comments below. And I want to talk about some buying tips. If you're buying this guy loose, with any loose figure you want to buy complete. And with diecast, you want to check for chipping and damage and get the best looking figure you can for the price. Sticker wear, this one obviously has no stickers. You want to make sure he has the landing gear, make sure the missiles are not broken. And check this out, when you look at the missiles, a lot of times the people will have it broke off right here and think you got a good missile, or have this little tab that holds it in the launcher. This will be broke off right here, and they'll have the remainder of the missile. And make sure there are 2 long missiles and 2 short missiles complete with the figure in both fists, and make sure you got a right fist and the left fist. No damage to the cockpit. Make sure the cockpit opens and closes, isn't cracked or damaged, and you will have a beautiful Generation 1 Starscream toy if you stick to those rules. So with that, I want to thank everybody for watching another episode of George Reviews, the reviews where every toy has a story.
Starscream!
I'm just saying goodbye.